Okay, this is basically a how-to raid video. If you're new to my videos, basically what I like to do is primarily I make raiding videos with a special emphasis on attempting to take everything of value from every base, meaning that I try to open up every single chest possible. This raid that I'm doing right here is a revenge raid, and it's not a particularly good raid in the sense that I didn't get very good loot from it, but I did use one of my techniques here, which I'll be showing you, about finding a block and creating an opening in the base in order to run the big one around back and forth to prevent him from hitting you and any of the walls, thereby preventing him from getting stronger. Because of as of 1.8, that's the new way it works. So you can't just tank damage from him anymore. So the way it works with my method of raiding is there's always two parts. The first part is I like to scout out a base, which is what I'm doing here. I usually bring a regular backpack and some broken armor, and sometimes I'll bring both guns I need, or sometimes I just bring one gun. Various axes. I bring like 4 level 2s and the rest level 1s. And that's enough to really break into the base, probe around a little bit, see what's going on, see what I'm going to need when I return. And if you have a chopper, I also open up a chest or two and take the best things that I can find and load up my chopper. That enables me, when I die, to bring home an additional 4 slots worth of loot from the base. So if you're just raiding the normal way, you're missing out on an opportunity to bring home 4 extra items or groups of items. So I highly recommend you do it the way I do it. Also, you don't need to bring C4 to bases because you can see if you need it. If it is a regular raid, I usually bring 1 C4 to begin with because I often need it to probe the base to begin with. But for revenge raids, I never bring C4 anymore. So what I'm doing right here is I've kind of probed around already. I usually try to get around 50 noise when I decide to starve myself to death, which is usually the method I do. I'm right here, I'm about at that point. You can make more than 50 noise. I just did over 70 on my last raid. And you can still use this trick. I don't know if there's any limit, but I know that once the big one comes, you do not want to kill yourself because you will lose your raid more than likely. Also, you need to be very careful about dying. I often use the trick of logging out of the game when you die, and then you go right back to where you were and you don't lose your raid. But there is no guarantee that's going to work every time, and I have lost at least 1 raid because that has happened to me. So be very careful. Try not to die at all. It's always a risk you're taking. So that's me loading up the chopper, and now I'm ready to die. So I'm going to go just wherever I feel like dropping my body. And I'm taking another look around the base. I'm at this point right now, I'm deciding what I want to do. Do I want to keep pressing forward and digging in, hoping to find a block in his base? Or do I want to just take the best loot I can find and get out of here? And ideally, it's always try to find a block. So what I mean by a block is a small chest that's up against a wooden wall, or a leather tanning rack also suffices. So I'm now running out of, my thirst is getting too high and I'm going to be dying soon, so that's the preferred method that I like to use. I'm just kind of getting organized. I was at this point a little worried about my noise being high, and so I was dumping some of my stuff into the base, but you don't really need to worry about that. Okay. So now I'm going to die right now. Okay. And a couple of things to keep in mind is when you're in between your scouting mission and when you finish your raid, you do not ever want to log out. If you do log out, you will lose your raid, so don't log out. You need to scout it and then get what you need and go right back. I've also heard that for people that use iOS, that this trick doesn't necessarily work, so be careful if you're on an Apple phone or something. Okay, so now I'm back at my base. Typically what I do here is I dress up in SWAT. You don't need to have full SWAT armor. If you have some half quality SWAT armor, that's perfectly fine because you're not going to be getting hit a lot anymore. I now put my military backpack on and I decide to take as many axes as I feel I need to make sure I open up everything. I didn't get a full look at the base, so I wasn't 100% sure. So I'm kind of going a little over the top, but axes are not that hard to make, at least not for me, so I usually bring a little overkill on the axes. At this point, I'm pretty certain I don't need any C4, so I won't be taking that. And then I already have a stack of food, which I always bring with me on my initial scouting mission. But I also take one full pack of med kits, and you need that for when you're messing around with the big one, because every time he hits you, pretty much you need to use one of those, or at least every 2 hits. So I'm now emptying the chopper, that stuff I just brought home right now, plus the gun I realized I didn't need because of the spikes, so I get to save that fully modded AK. And now I'm going to go back to the raid. And of course there's a chopper event, which I'm having to pass on. And regretting, sort of. So now that I'm back, I've already pretty much decided I wanted to probe more and hope that I would get a block in his base. I'm going to go ahead and put on my crappy armor because I still have one more wave to deal with and I don't want to use up my good SWAT armor on them. I'm taking my level 2 axes off to make sure that I'm not breaking through a level 2 wall. Okay, now this is a new tip. You see that green chest up there, it's a small box, which is what you can use for a block. And this is something that I haven't really talked about before, so it's kind of an important tip to be aware of. I just watched Doomerus do a raid and he didn't seem to understand the way this worked, but right now what I'm doing here is I'm breaking the wall, but I won't be able to get through because there's side walls on the other side of that small box. And you can't sneak through if there are side walls on where the chest is or on the other side of where the chest is. So the only way to do it is you have to break at least one of those side walls. So you'll see me do that here in just a second, but don't give up hope. If you see something like this, you can still totally get through. I've killed this 3rd wave. Now I'm putting my SWAT armor back on, and so I'm ready for the big one. So there, I can't get through. I need to break one of those side walls. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go around the back and pop it open. It's taking me a second to realize what I have to do. And here we go. And I'm also kind of calculating my sound because I have to break through all this stuff. So I broke through the spikes. I break through another level 1 wall, no big deal. And then I'm going to break through this wall right, not that one, because that one I'd have to break through 2 walls. So this one, now I can get through. If I broke through the other side, I'd have to break both those sidewalls. You cannot have a sidewall next to a small box and get through. So now I have a block and I have an opening on the other side of the base. So I can make the big one run back and forth. And he won't hit any walls and he won't hit me except for when he teleports, which he will occasionally do. And you can't really get around that. So at this point, my goal is I have enough noise to soften up every box, which is what is critical. I mean, it's going to save you a lot of time if you do this. So all right. So now it's pretty much up to me opening up one more chest and bringing in the big one. After that, you need to kill the toxic abominations. Now this base is simple because I have spike traps all around, and that just makes it super easy. I decided I wanted to break that one workbench, so I went ahead and softened it up. Now I'm getting organized with my axes. You always want to look at everything and double check, memorize where things are, because once the big one comes, it gets a little hectic and you start to forget where things are. It's hard to put things in your chopper sometimes, so I've already decided I want to take that. If I found something better, I would go ahead and try real hard to replace that. I'd probably get hit once or twice, but it's better to have something in there just in case. So now I'm going to go ahead and be trying to get these guys dead. They kind of came on me quick from both sides, but the spike strips are basically making this easy for me. Okay, there we go. That guy's dead. Always heal up every opportunity you get. You don't want to be low on health and have the big one hit you and risk losing the raid that way. So always watch your health. Now I've decided this water collector here is in my way. It's making life difficult. That's why I'm breaking it. Less things to get caught up on. You can break things one at a time and look at them, or you can break all the chests in one swoop, and that's kind of what I'm doing here. Now this base is a little bit small, so you just teleport on me for no good reason. This base is a little small. It doesn't give me a lot of time to run around and do things. It's like by the time I get over and break a couple chests, he's already back on me. But that's fine. It's enough time. It means a bunch more extra trips back and forth and a little bit more stress, but it's all doable. You just have to be patient and you can still open up everything. So I found some guns. I assumed his best stuff was right there in the middle, and it was. The rest of this raid, there really isn't a whole lot going on. I've already pretty much found his best loot, but I'm making sure that I get out of here with everything I can that is his most valuable stuff. So it's a little tedious. You got to kind of remember where everything is. But this is how it's done. Now if the base is wide open, if you don't have all this going on for you, you can still raid everything sort of if you soften up all the chests. And I learned this from a Doomers video. You soften up all the chests, you run in and you open a chest and hit take all very quickly and run right off the map away from where your chopper is. Now if you do that, once you're off the screen, once you're off the map, you'll have time to look at what you got. You can delete items, and then you can run right back in, run over to that chest, hit take all again. You really have very little time. You're going to get hit every once in a while, but that will give you the ability to raid most all of his base. Now That's definitely a much more stressful version of this, and that's never fun for me. It's just a real pain in the butt, but you can do that. So I went ahead and decided to break the furnace. And now the last part of doing a raid like this is breaking your small box. And at that point, it's kind of a crapshoot. You got to make sure your inventory you have some space in your inventory to collect things. You got like 3 or 4 seconds to basically break that one. Teleported right on top of me. You have like 3 or 4 seconds basically to break that and decide what you're going to take, what you're going to swap. So that last box is always a pain to get to. You do not have the luxury of time, so you got to make a decision if you want to clear some room in your inventory, or if you're just going to swap things really quickly and maybe tank a couple hits. I think I'm getting near the end here. So at this point, I've pretty much opened everything. I've looked at everything. I've decided what I'm going to take, and I'm just going to be loading up my inventory with the best of everything. My chopper's already full. You always want to come home with a full load. So that's what I'm doing right now. In case you don't know, no, you cannot kill the big one. He always regenerates when he gets to about 200 health. So even though I got spikes all over the place, there's no way around that. It is possible to despawn the big one. I've had it happen once, but I have no idea how to do it, and I don't think anybody knows. That's always a nice thing. There's a couple other things on raids you can do, like there's a wall glitch, which basically is you run up to a wall and he'll get tricked somehow in his pathing and run all the way around the building, similar to what I have him doing here now. But I've never been able to really figure out how to ensure that happens. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So if you know how to do that, good. If you feel comfortable doing it, go ahead. But it's never been a very reliable thing for me. So that's about it. I mean, this is what I got on this raid, plus those initial 4 items I took home. I think in this part I was just talking about. Somebody was asking me why I had so many items not learned and was wondering if I was a hacker. It's just because you can hit reset. And I did that because somebody had my phone and decided to learn everything for me, and I didn't want everything learned, so that's the reason why that was the case, because there's not enough points to learn everything, and I had everything learned except the circuit, which of course I wanted to be able to learn. It's a pretty important thing to have, so that's why I reset everything. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll be seeing you on my next raid soon. All right, bye.